Everyone, and welcome to another live match preview show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzie, and I'm your host for this evening. Liverpool go into another competition after a run of losing games, unfortunately. So Liverpool have a chance to rectify or try maybe turn a page in terms of going back to winning ways or back to performing, to a higher standard. Of course, we're facing Crystal Palace tomorrow in the Carabao Cup. So during the show, we will analyze our opponents, plus present the team news and predicted lineups as well. So let's discuss our opponents. So Crystal Palace, a team that certainly we've not been very fond of this season. They beat us in the Community Shield on penalties before the season even kicked off. They messed us around in the regards to signing Mark Gay on transfer deadline day, thanks to Steve Parish's Pilates class. Then they beat us 2-1 in the Premier League. That pretty much started our losing streak so far this season. But since that win in Selhurst Park for Crystal Palace, they've had their own issues on the pitch as well. They haven't won a game ever since. They've had two defeats and a draw. So Palace are also in desperate need of a victory as well. But I would say they're going through a bad patch, whereas for Liverpool, not to sound dramatic, but we're in a crisis right now. Four defeats in a row in the Premier League, which is unheard of. And it's not just the results that's the issue right now, it's the way we're playing and the lack of ideas or imagination to turn it around on the pitch. Arnold Slot has been under fire, and some fans have even suggested that he should be sacked. Now, according to Fabrizio Romano today, the Liverpool hierarchy have full trust in Arnold Slot and are 100% convinced that he is the best manager to handle this situation. Now, I'm not in the slot out camp at the moment, but whatever the case, he needs to find a solution and needs to find it very, very soon. But if I'm being brutally honest with you guys, this game, could be regarded as a free hit, I'm not expecting Slot to field his strongest 11. Um, and look, I'm not just trying to sound, a bit of a defeatist right now, but if we were to not progress in this competition, it's not the worst case scenario. I feel like we need to focus on regaining form in the Premier League and, you know, with this cup competition not being a primary sort of target for us, it wouldn't be the worst scenario. But, that's not the mentality that I have as an individual. I want us to win every game that is presented to us. So let's hope that Liverpool are up for this fight in terms of performing because we haven't shown that in the last few games and we need to work hard as a collective and we need to do better. Um, so let's see, what sort of team Arsenal goes for. Does he field a strongest 11 or does he, rotate the squad? Um, Only time will tell. But what we'll do now, we'll present the team news and see who's available. So we'll get an idea in terms of, potential team selection for tomorrow. In regards to Liverpool, no press conference took place today as Arne Slot is technically not obliged to conduct one for a Carabao Cup tie. So the club decided not to do one today. But in terms of the squad, unfortunately, Curtis Jones picked up an injury against Brentford. It's not a severe one, but he may be unavailable against Palace. Curtis Jones joins the likes of Isak, Frimpong, Gravenberch, Allison, and Leone on the sidelines. Now, in terms of Crystal Palace, the Eagles also have a few players out of action with the likes of Kapoha, Riyad, Doucouré, and Richards. But other than that, they should have a fully fit squad to select for tomorrow's fixture. Now, we'll move on and predict the lineups. We'll start with the away team. So it's a bit more, easier to do. Or I would assume it's easier to do, but I'm not quite so sure because there's no indication that they'll go for a strong team or a sort of strong line, sorry, a rotated lineup either. I'm going to go on the basis that they might rotate the squad. Um, so with that said, I think they will start with Benitez in goal. If I can spell his name correctly. Um, there we go. He'll be in goal. And then you'll have Apologies, so many ads on this website. It's absolute joke. And then on the right hand side, I think it will be their summer signing, who I assumed was the Mark Gahey replacement, but unfortunately that's not how it ended up being. So Campbell, he'll be on that right side, and I expect them to still field a strong defense in Lacroix and Mark Gahey on that left hand side. In terms of the midfield, they could go for Munoz, but I feel like they might rotate and go with a former red in Nathaniel Klein. Um, and on that left hand side, I think they might rest Tyrone Mitchell and go for their summer signing in Sosa. Um, and then in midfield, I'm expecting it to be rotated again. So no Wharton, I don't think will start in this one. So I'm going to go with Lerma and Hughes alongside him. So two left-footed midfielders. So it'll be interesting to see, who plays on what side. But I'm expecting them to play together. I'm expecting the young player they have in Devaney to come on, a player who definitely played a part in the last couple of games against Liverpool. Um, of course, scoring the winning penalty against us in the Community Shield. And in terms of the right hand side, I'm expecting them to rotate and play Essay. If I can see him, where is he? There he is on that right hand side. And up top, I would have gone for Mateta, but I think they're rotating this one and they're going to go with Nketiah, who of course scored the winner against us in the Premier League. So that is my predicted lineup. So pretty much a rotated team there, other than Lacroix and Gahey. But of course, they still need to have a strong foundation against a team like Liverpool. So that is my predicted lineup. So feel free to let me know what you think. So let's move on and present the predicted lineup for Liverpool. So this will be, I'm sure, a big talking point amongst us fans. I don't expect us to go very strong, if I'm being brutally honest. I'm expecting us to rotate, play some of the squad players, play some youth players, but also players that have been out of the mix completely. So, there's definitely players that we need to try and, you know, put into the first team just to utilize the squad a bit more. Some players I believe need a bit of a rest, a bit of a breather. So that's why I don't think we're going to go strong tomorrow. So in terms of the goalkeeper, it's going to be a debut for Woodman, with Allison out and Mamadashvili pretty much playing consecutive games in recent weeks. Um, I'm expecting our third choice keeper to start in this fixture. And the right back, bit of a surprise one. I think Kevin Ramsey, the forgotten person there. He will get a rare start for Liverpool, on the basis that Frimpong is injured, and then you've got you've got Bradley, who has been, pretty much starting the recent games, and I don't think it'll be fair to start him again in this one. We've got Aston Villa later on this weekend, so um, I think we may utilize our squad slash reserves and just give a few players some game time just to see, if we can get through this game. So I think Ramsey will start in this one. Alongside him, slightly unorthodox, I'm gonna go with Endo, because we don't have a lot of centre back options, and he will be playing alongside Joe Gomez. On the left hand side, I would have gone for Robertson, but after Kirkes' recent performance, I think we need experience in that back line. So I would actually save Robertson for our upcoming game against Aston Villa, and I would play Kirkes in this one, because he didn't play. Well, he did play against Brentford, didn't have the best of games, but I feel like going forward, he will need to be rotated just so we can, ease him into the team eventually. But I feel like, Robertson, for me, should be starting the next few games, and then, we can see how that goes and then rotate the two in the upcoming fixtures. But for this one, I'm going to go with Kirkes in the double pivot. McAllister didn't start in the last game, so I'm going to go with McAllister, and I'm going to go with Trey Neone as well to start alongside him. The number 10 role, bit of a sticky one. I would have gone for someone like Curtis Jones, but of course he's not available. So I'm actually going to give it to Florian Wirtz. Maybe this is a game where he can regain some confidence. So I think this would be a good game for him to showcase his ability. On his left hand side, I think we'll be starting with Rio and Gamoa. If I can find him, definitely on this website. I've used him before. There we go. There he is. And then on the right hand side, I'm going to go with Chiesa. And up top, some may go for Ekitike, with of course Isak not available, but I wouldn't want to risk Ekitike in this fixture. So slightly out of the norm, I'm going to go Gakpo to play as a striker in this game. We've all seen his ability. He can play that role, especially when he first joined us under Jurgen Klopp. So it's not a role that he's not accustomed to. So I feel like it might be best to utilize his skill set. He can still be an efficient goal scorer playing in that role. So I feel like this could be a good role for him in this fixture. So this is my predicted lineup. Feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you guys think. Would you switch any players around, or have I gone very, very weak in terms of the team selection there? Feel free to drop a comment and let me know. So that's my predicted lineup. Now, in terms of the score prediction, I'll be honest, guys, I'm not in the most confident of moods going into this game. I'm always trying to be super positive when it comes to my team, but with this rotated team, I'm not expecting us to get the win, unfortunately, guys. So I'm actually going for a 1-0 win for Palace, and I think in terms of their goal scorer, I think it's going to be uh, I think he'll be Esse, the right-sided attacker. I think he'll get the winning goal for Palace. So yeah, so that is my predicted lineup and also my score prediction. So let me know in the comments what your scoreline prediction is for this game. Uh, Before we close the show, I saw an interesting rumor today that I thought we could quickly discuss, and that is a player known as Joel Ordonez. So he is an Ecuadorian international, and apparently Liverpool are considering a 35 million pound move for the highly rated centre back. So my thoughts on the rumor. He's a player that I've been aware of, but I'll be honest, I've not seen much of him in action in terms of live matches. But he's a player that is been regarded as one of the sort of up and coming centre backs in European football. He was very close actually to joining Marseille in the summer, but that move never materialized. A player that is very dominant, dominantly plays on the right hand side of a centre back position, and he's very good in defending on the channel. Something that Konate is also renowned for. So he would be a player that I would say fits the same kind of mold of how Konate is in terms of his style of play and how he fits in our team. So I feel like he would be a great cover for Konate in that role. I've also seen, highlights of him playing on the left sided centre back role, and he's pretty much, done really well on that part of the pitch as well. So a player that can play on both sides as a centre back, I think he can play in the back three or in the back four as well. So versatile in that regards. So for me, it would be a smart signing, a very young profile, but still has experience. He's played, I think, around 90 games for Club Brugge, so he's not, completely inexperienced, but he's definitely a player learning his trade and developing as the time goes on. So I feel like he could be an interesting signing for us, a player that we probably need as soon as possible because we do need defensive reinforcements sooner rather than later. Of course, our main target would have been Mark Gahey, but if I'm being honest, I don't know if the club will go for him in January and will probably hold out for a move in the summer where, of course, we can sign him on a free transfer. But at the same time, just because we're Liverpool Football Club doesn't mean that, we expect everyone to sign for us. There have been some rumors suggesting that the likes of Real Madrid and Bayern Munich also want to sign Mark Gahey. So, it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. Um, I would love for him to join Liverpool in the January window, but I just have a feeling that it might not be the player that we go for. I do think we'll sign a centre back, but I don't think he'll be Mark Gay for whatever reason. I'm not too sure. Um, it feels like it's not something on the cards for the club right now. And there was also suggestions today that Liverpool have not continued any further talks in regards to Arne signing a new contract. Which for me, if that is true, I actually think that's the right thing to do. It doesn't make sense to offer a manager a new contract when they're in a bit of a predicament where the team is not playing well. His ability is being questioned, and right now we're in a bit of a rut. So until we don't get out of this mess, there's no point of rewarding anyone with new contracts. So with the manager's future still a bit up in the air right now, I don't expect the club to make huge reinforcements in the January window. But if they were smart and astute enough to realize we do need further additions to the squad, so I'm hoping we could sign a centre back. I would love for us to sign a defensive midfielder in January to try and just help us, you know, present a bit of a protection to the back line and you know, help the team going forward because I feel like that's the profile we're really lacking in our team. We've got a lot of progressive midfielders in our squad, but we don't really have a defensive minded player other than, of course, the likes of Gravenberg and Endo. But I think with Endo's limited ability on the ball and the high sort of the high dependency on Gravenberg, it's something where we need to address. And of course, Gravenberg, playing more of a free role this season, we definitely need a more defensive minded to play alongside him if you wanted to get the best out of Gravenberg, but also give the team a better balance as well. So hopefully, Liverpool can address the centre back position in the window, and I think this guy could be a player high on our short list. 35 million pounds is not a crazy amount of money. I think he's a player that can probably come in and play a decent role for us. I wouldn't say he's a player that will play week in, week out for us straight away, but I think he's a player that can definitely impact or provide cover and protection for our upcoming games in the next year. So yeah, let's see if there's any sort of truth to the rumors. He's a player that I feel like he does look decent. Probably will try and watch a few live games of Club Brugge if I get a chance. But he's definitely a player I feel like will be on our radar, and maybe we'll get some further news in the coming days and weeks as well. The January window is not too far away now. We're almost approaching November. So, rumors will be heating up the closer we get to that time period. So yeah, hopefully, we get some updates. And I think he would be a good addition to the squad. But let's see, what the future holds in terms of Liverpool's transfer activity going forward. Just got a few comments here before we close the show. Daz has always said, big Ozzy, big up. Also, my 11 for tomorrow is the same as Saturday, but dropping Cody, Chiesa in, and Ryan um, start. I start. Works intense. So Ryan Gravenberg's not available for this fixture, so he's not a player uh, that is in contention. So I don't know if you've missed my lineup, so I'm just going to present a few on the screen. Um, I've gone for pretty much a rotated squad. I've gone for Woodman in goal because I'm expecting him to start rather than play Mamadashvili for another game. Ramsey, the forgotten man, he returns to the team or pretty much plays his wouldn't be his first game ever, but his first game of the season, alongside Endo, Gomez, and Kirkez. I've gone for a double pivot of McAllister and Trenioni. Then I've gone with Chiesa, Verts, Rio, and I've gone for Gakpo to play up top as a striker. So that's my formation there. So yeah, feel free to let me know what you think. Um, Guy says, do you know why no stop presser and not there tomorrow? So according to the rules, there is no obligation for a club to hold a press conference when it comes to Carabao Cup ties, and I think because of that, they just decided not to do it. For whatever reason, maybe due to losing streak right now, they didn't want to power the pressure. Um, on slot, answering uncomfortable questions, or they just thought, it wasn't needed, and the focus should be on training and try and get the players ready for this fixture. So yeah, so there was no obligation to do a presser, so I think they decided to take that option um, for today. Ozan, big up Ozan as always. He says, "I'm depressed, Ozzy. I'm this close to winning the entire season in my books." You know what? I hear you. I hear you. To be fair, but we got to still support the team. I know it feels like very dark times right now, um, but yeah, we have to be positive. We got to support the team. We've got to show our support even more now. And I have said this on my previous shows. Our upcoming fixtures, including tomorrow. Tomorrow and then Villa, and I think against Real Madrid. Those are three games that are being played at Anfield. So the crowd will have to play a big role, in supporting the players because I think they need it. And you know, whether you believe it's the players that should be accountable or the manager, we're all one team. We're all fighting for one cause, so it doesn't really matter. We have to work together and try and find a solution. For me, tomorrow, if I'm being honest, I feel like we need a result more than a performance. The performance have been quite shocking in recent weeks, but I feel like a win just gives you a bit of a boost and it improves the morale within the squad, and then you can focus on performances from there onwards. So um, I don't want to sound like I don't care about tomorrow's fixture, but if we were to lose, it wouldn't be the worst case scenario. I feel like we need to focus on regaining form for the Premier League. And of course, we'll have the Champions League to focus on. And then later on, we'll have the FA Cup as well. So for me, the Carabao Cup this season, maybe due to the current, poor form we've been in, is not highest of my priorities or games I feel like we need to focus on. And also with our squad, we've got quite a few injuries. We've got the likes of Jones, we've got the likes of Isak, um, who else is it? It's Frimpong, Gravenberg, Allison, and of course Leone, a long-term absentee, unavailable for the upcoming week. So, we're struggling in terms of numbers, and we're one injury away from pretty much not having backup defenders. And I don't really want us to, dig deep into our reserves and recall the likes of Reece Williams because for me, that's not an option. But unfortunately, it's going to be an option in the near future because of our lack of numbers. Even the likes of Bash, a player that seems to get a lot of attention, or a lot of people are very vocal about his possible inclusion in the coming weeks, but he's barely fit. So I don't know what the hype is about. But of course, he could be a possible option for defense and midfield. Um, so in terms of his development right now, we have no idea in terms of the trajectory. When is he able to play, or when is he available for team selection? Because right now, I have no idea. So only time will tell. But yeah, so let's see, how the game pans out tomorrow. But I don't have high hopes because I'm expecting us to rotate quite heavy. I'll be very surprised if we go for a strong team like we did against Brentford, for example. Um, but yeah, let's see, how Arsenal sets up tomorrow. Dad says, any news on Isak? No, no news on Isak. I think um, we'll get some clarification maybe this week on Friday once Arsenal does the press conference for the match against Villa. Um, but from what I've gathered, it's not a very serious injury, so he may be out for 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, hopefully we get some good news in the coming days. Ozan says, "All my days, Ozzy got a face winning tomorrow. Let's see if Fade brings us that. No, no, I got chest now. We're winning tomorrow due to the Fade. Let's see, let's see how it goes. Um, that says, what would your bench be tomorrow, Ozzy? So even though, as you can see, my squad is, or should I say, my team, my starting 11 is quite pretty much rotated. I'm expecting us to have a strong bench. So on the bench, Mamadashvili will be an option. Then I would expect Robertson to be there. I'd have Konate as a centre back option. Bradley, Sobozlai sounds crazy. I might even have Salah in there as well. Um, TK. That's seven there. So I'm not sure is it seven or nine that we can do, but let's say it is nine. Um, who else can we fit in there? Don't feel like we have because Jones is unavailable. No Isak, no Frimpong. So it'll have to be a couple of the youth players as well. But that's pretty much a strong bench that I would definitely add. Um, would I bench Van Dijk? I'd probably rest him for this one, to be honest with you. Not to say that he's been poor or anything like that. I don't think he needs to be available for each game. So I think this one, just keep him up for this one. I've only added Salah and also Ekitike because if we need a goal, we're gonna have to add him into the team. Um, do you know what? This is a name I almost forgot to mention. Figueroa. So maybe have him as a as a sort of like as a rookie option off the bench because I would have gone for Jaden Dance, but I believe he's not available for this fixture. So he would have been a player on the bench for me. So maybe Figueroa, who I know just scored a hat trick recently for the under 23. So he's definitely a player that you can see on the bench. Um, and Cosden said Amara Nalo as well. So yeah, Nalo could be an option on the bench. So maybe that's the two youth players that complete the bench in that regards. But I'm expecting the bench to be very, very strong as well. So yeah, I'm expecting the likes of Salah and all those players as well to be on the bench, whether they get game time or not. I hope they don't, because if they're on the pitch, that means we're desperate and we need an impact from these players. For me, they should just be the players to make up the numbers, and allow the likes of Figueroa, Nalo to just get game time. Jay Gordon could be another option as well. I know he's been playing in recent weeks, so he could be another option off the bench. But I think that would be the ones that I think I would go for personally. Man City won the FA Cup again, I believe. Yeah, I remember him, Figueroa, the left back. He was a top player. He scored some amazing bangers. I remember one goal, I forgot what team it was against. Scored like close to the halfway line, smashed it into the back of the net. So yeah, his dad was a decent player. So yeah, we've got the young. I believe they're from Ecuador, aren't they? I'm not sure if that's correct, but I feel like they're from Ecuador. I might have to Google that now. Um, but yeah, he's definitely a player. Sorry, not Ecuador. He's Honduran. So yeah, definitely a player that he's very highly regarded in our youth level right now. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he does for Liverpool. But this will be a very good opportunity for him to get some minutes and get to play for the first team as well. So I definitely expect him to be on the bench due to our lack of numbers in attack. Um, as I said, apparently Jibril Cesar is also in the under 16 pipe. Yeah, I've heard about that as well. I have heard that. So yeah, a potential player coming through the ranks in the near future as well. Daz has gone for a 2-1 goal from Verts and Rio. So yeah, big up yourself. Unfortunately, guys, I'm not in the most positive of moods in terms of this game. I just because of I think it's the backline that's worrying me more than anything else. Um, so I've gone for a loss, which you probably don't hear me do or hear me predict on the show, but I think Palace will just get a 1-0 win. That's my prediction. Uh, Ozan's going for a 5-3 uh, victory for Liverpool, I'm assuming there. Oh, due to Ozzie's face. So let's see if my fade brings us good luck tomorrow. But yeah, let's see how that goes. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Ozan and thank you to Daz for your comments. Appreciate your engagement as always. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, in terms of upcoming shows, uh, to see if my fade is, any sort of form of good luck, we'll do a watch along tomorrow. The game starts at 7:45 p.m. UK time, so I'll be live from 7:40. We'll go through the lineups together, see who starts. Let's see how close I am in terms of my predicted lineup here, and then watch the game together. And yeah, feel free to get involved in the live chat, and hopefully it's good news. But we'll still do a match reaction after the game. And if you'd like to call in and have your say, a link will be available in the chat for you to jump on and have your say. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.